Hey, it's Steven. I'm here with another Training Tuesday video as I am less than a month away from running the London Marathon as a charity runner for the Change Foundation. And I wanted to sit and recap what's gone on the last month of training for me. So I am sporting one of my newest running shirts, which is courtesy of the Nebraska State Fair Marathon. I did not actually run the marathon race there, but they offer a multitude of races for folks, and I opted to run the half marathon. So I actually took time to incorporate that into part of my training. That was now 2 weeks ago in beautiful Grand Island, Nebraska, and I was supposed to have run 18 miles as my long run that weekend according to my training program, and I didn't really know exactly how to approach that, so I approached one of the running clubs that I belong to, Fusion Racing Club, out of Wilmington, Delaware, and I asked the folks there, okay, so those of you who have previously run a marathon and you're in your training program, how do you approach that you signed up for a race in the midst of it and the race is not exactly the distance that you're expected to run for your long run that weekend? And I had thought about it a little bit previously and thought I might run the race at kind of like a fairly easy pace and then run the additional 5 miles to get my full 18. The feedback I got from more experienced runners, which is always an important thing when you're doing something you've never taken on before, the feedback I got was run the race like a real race. Don't just half-ass it and take it easy. Because if you run it like a real race, you're going to work harder than you would during your long run of a full 18 miles at a slow, easy pace. Take a few minutes to warm up beforehand for about a mile, kind of trotting, dragging your feet out, jogging a little bit, getting loose. Do a little solid cool down of about a mile or so post, and that'll balance out the lack of running the full 18 miles. So that was the approach I went into. I started out a little slower than I would have liked to for the race. I ended up finishing at a total time of 1 hour, 54 minutes, and 27 seconds. I had to sit and think about my actual time there. So 1:54:27. I had initially, as I started running, had hoped to maybe finish at about 1:45. And as I realized, early on, I wasn't at a pace that was going to get me there as I started. But I did gradually work my pace up a little bit, and especially started working up after I hit the 10K mark at a little bit over 6 miles, and then after I hit the 10-mile mark, which, mentally from everything I've read really is kind of that halfway point, even though it's not distance-wise, but it's the last chunk of mental, physical point of the half marathon distance. I just kind of let loose and pushed myself and did everything I could to catch as many people who were in front of me. And I'm not exactly thrilled with my final time, but I'm happy with my final time. And I will say, for anybody who's in the Midwest or is looking for a half marathon to run, or even a marathon, because they do offer a marathon at Grand Island, or even a 5K, I would definitely consider signing up and participating in the Nebraska State Fair Marathon race series. Grand Island has a lot to offer as far as food and entertainment goes. Aside from the state fair is also really fun and great experience. And it's a great opportunity to just kind of run on a really super flat race course, which was something in particular I enjoyed. And I feel like will, in the long run, work well for me in training for the London Marathon, because that's also a very flat course. Now, like I said, I have less than a month to go in training. I have about 26 days, if I have counted correctly, left before I will run in London. My longest run is still ahead of me. That is this coming weekend. I will have a 20-mile run on Sunday as my long run. And that's going to be a challenge, but it's going to be interesting, and I look forward to it. Most concerned about making sure that I fuel properly beforehand and during that run, because I know this past weekend when I ran 16, which was my previous longest run, I know I had a little bit of a crash on my blood sugar levels post-run, and definitely did not recover as well as I could or should have. So I'm looking to rectify that this coming weekend with my 20-mile run. But I'm optimistic that I'll get a little bit more better sleep and be able to be more rested going into that run this coming Sunday. So this is the last chance I have before I run in London in a video format to talk to you about why I'm running for the Change Foundation. And the best way for me to convey and talk about that is to talk about what I posted the other day on social media, specifically on Facebook, regarding the job interview I had last week. And I was asked that very stereotypical job interview question of, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I know everybody seems to ask that question, and for some reason people still think that's a relevant job question to ask, and personally I hate it. However, I loved my response because I didn't really think about this question going into the interview as much as I should have expected this question. I didn't, just because I wasn't focused in on that type of a question for the job interview. And my answer was something that really surprised me, just because it wasn't something I had prepared. I love it though, because to me, when you can sit and talk about something at the spur of a moment and know it and feel it in the bottom of your heart, in the bottom of your soul, with every ounce of your being, about why you're doing something and where you want to be in 5 years, you know you're doing the absolutely right thing in the world. And for me in that job interview, when I got asked that question of where do you see yourself in 5 years, my answer was, I don't know. And I don't know because the life that I live and that I've been fortunate and blessed to live with my wife, Katie, is not at all the life that I thought I was going to be leading. And she and I talk about this all the time. We're very fortunate in what we have gotten to do and what we have gotten to experience in this world and the people we have gotten to interact with and the wonderful things we've been able to do. So many of them aren't things we really had a plan for, that this is what we wanted to accomplish in life. Yet every single step of the way, it's awesome. And a lot of that all comes to being able to make a difference in the world and make it a better place. And in that moment in that interview, I got verklempt, got emotional, almost cried, not quite, but almost cried. But I had to stop talking because I was so emotionally overwhelmed. And it's something I stopped and I apologized for, even though I know I really didn't need to. Because you know what? If I am so emotionally connected to why I am running for the Change Foundation, who will empower young people through the power of sport to give them greater opportunities in life, to make the world a better place one person at a time in all sorts of different ways, I'm doing the right thing. And I love that about the fact that I got chosen to be a charity runner for the Change Foundation. And I talk about it with people that, I don't just get to run the London Marathon. Yeah, I'm excited I get to run a marathon. I'm excited to get to run my first marathon. I'm excited that my first marathon is going to be the London Marathon, and it's going to be a world major marathon with 50,000 other people, God willingly, there in person with me, and 50,000 people doing it virtually around the world. That's awesome. But what's more awesome is I have this honor, I have this privilege to run for the Change Foundation. Not everybody gets to do that. I get that honor, I get that privilege. That's exciting to me. So, as I get emotional again, I'm going to pause for a second, because that's how much I love what I get to do for the Change Foundation. I get to be a small trim tab in the big world of change and help people that I know and to help people I'll never ever get to meet. And it doesn't matter that I get to meet them. What matters is that I get to make the world a better place, and I get to contribute to their empowerment and the betterment of their lives. So, Why am I running for the Change Foundation? I'm running for the Change Foundation because I want to make the world a better place. I want to be that little trim tab that helps make big societal change and creates a world that I love and creates a world that you can love too. So, if you believe that sport can, will, and should affect positive change in the world, I hope you'll donate to the Change Foundation. I'm asking folks to consider donating 26 pounds, which is approximately 35 US dollars, to the Change Foundation at the link that'll be posted down below in my profile here in a second. And that's going to be 26 pounds sterling for every 1 mile that I'm going to run on October 3rd when I run for the Change Foundation. Whether you're a runner or not, what you're going to do by donating is make a difference in the world. And I hope you'll join me doing it.